Hi, and welcome to the Market Alert for Thursday, the 9th of July 2020. So stocks always go up until they don't, stating the obvious there, but that's the way things are at the moment. So before we go any further, let's have a review of yesterday's trades and see what happened during the rather quiet trading session. Okay, so yesterday the market, already in the pre-market, you can see where the buying took place from the futures down move. You can see how the shorts bought back the market, and then prices closing back above the 5-bar moving average and the BRN, and then eventually breaking through the 20-bar moving average with more professional buying. So the market was already long from the off, and also, as we've spoken about before, they don't like the market below the low if possible. So prices were already moving higher, so I'm going to speed up things here because there's a lot to get through. So we're live now, as it were, the market bouncing off the BRN. And the first thing that we see is that as soon as it hit the psychological level, or selling over at this level, the market then saw a quick burst of profit taking. But watch this next bar and see what happens, how they actually bring the market back, and you will see huge amount of buying there as the stops were taken out on the short side, particularly this area, and also the 200 bar MA there that was selling in this area here. We know this because prices came down and closed below the BRN again. So in order to get back through any sort of resistance, you've got to drive through to the upside. So any buyers of the market at this point are in for a bit of a tussle as prices go back and forth, and now you can see further buying coming into the market here, and then continuing to again fight the 200 bar moving average and the BRN. Again, you can see as soon as we get up to this level, we get the selling and the 200 bar moving average and the high of this bar. So the market's gone through, but one thing you've got to keep in mind when you're stuck in this sort of very volatile sideways, sort of uptrend side to sideways, because you've got the rising lows, and importantly, you haven't got prices once the green bars come in, which you see here and here, that we are actually closing above the 5-bar moving average. So interpreting what's going on bar by bar, and you'll see the market then in the next 2 minutes. Again, we've got some more buying coming into the market, which you can see here, and back above the BRN. However, again, the fight isn't over yet as prices come back, and now is the opportunity to drive through. And then if you watch the volume, just look at the volume now, you'll see that the buy side have got control of the market now. There was a lot in this area, a lot going on, but now we've broken it, and including this high where we had the selling. So prices moving to the upside, and you'll see again, this isn't very interesting what happened here as well, because in this area here you've got the support of the 200 bar moving average. Let me just draw this with the red arrow so you can see it there. So you've got the market coming back and sitting on this like it's some sort of foundation. And again, if prices are to move higher, they need to take out this high, and we need to see an increase in volume. So I'm going to fast forward, and there you'll see. And again, watch the volume window. This is the key to this, is when you're actually in a trade, is watch the volume window. Make sure it's supporting the move that you're actually in. So now we've got some potential weakness, and they're absorbing sell orders here, and I know they're absorbing the sell orders because we haven't closed below the 5-bar moving average. So even though the volume is as close as it is to the previous bar that moved higher, I can see that there is some sort of absorption there. So prices once again moving higher. We're looking at the BRN level. Prices have closed back below the 5-bar. They're heading back down towards the 200 bar moving average, and again we'll be watching this level closely because this is where we had the previous support in this area here. So prices then drive higher, and again you can see the increase in volume in this bar, just above the average but greater than the previous bar as it drove back to the upside, and now we're at the BRN level there, and we can see the DP level just beyond it, whether prices can make it or not. You can see now that they're coming back and closing back below the 5 bar moving average, or trading below it at the moment, heading back towards the 20 bar moving average. They failed to close. They've closed below the 5 but not the 20, and then we start to move back and head towards the DP level. And then the market, as you'll see here, is going up on nothing. We're starting to run out of steam, and to get through any sort of major pivot area, including the DP, you need to see an increase in volume. And now, again, subtle as it may be, this bar here, you can see that it's very narrow, and you can see there's a lot of volume. So at this point they were trying to absorb some selling coming into the market or hold prices on the high, and then it fails as prices start to come back, which you'll see there at the 20 bar moving average, and now the psychological level, until we get the sell signal. So we can see there's been an increase on the downside there as we've closed below the 20 bar moving average. I'll just fast forward there, and now it's a case of we need to see prices move lower. Now we've got the 200 bar moving average below us here as well, and already we can see how narrow this price bar is. A bit of a warning here. So what we need to see now is the market certainly not go back to the stop, and we don't really want to see it close above the 20 bar moving average when we're actually short. We want to keep it closing below the 5 bar moving average. So prices again dip below the entry price, head towards the scalp, fail at this point. You can see there's an increase in the volume to the downside, but it came back off the lows. So somebody was buying down at this level to come back at that point. So it needs to see more selling coming into the market. As you'll see, prices then hit the there you go, you see them come back, hit the BRN, and then you'll see the market showing green. And this is anybody that's been short on this. It was just an exercise by the market makers to bring the market back and take out the stops. Fortunately, we survived this, and then you'll see prices coming back down below the entry price, but not for long, because this market is not wanting to go down. You can see the scalps hit, and I've redrawn the markup back on the chart, and I can see all the way across here that I've got support in this at the moment. So I've got to make a decision on whether I'm going to take the money or wait and see what happens on this type of trade. I can see there's no great volume apart from this when they ran the market back to take the stops out there. There is a subtle thing going on here as well. I just want to show you this. You may not spot this, but I'm going to point it out to you. This very narrow range bar at the scalp level, look at the volume. It's greater than the previous bar, but the range is less in range. So again, they're absorbing the selling coming into the market. They're just buying back all of the orders. Very subtle, and I'm going to get this programmed into the software so that these are highlighted when we get this below the average volume, but we can see that we've got greater volume there. When it's pointed out to you, it's obvious, but seeing at the time, of course, is very difficult. So prices now trade sideways, and then all of a sudden, as you'll see in a moment, we get the market buying back, and then another red bar there, but no signal. The market coming back down. You can see we're stuck in a sideways range here. So prices start to move back up. They're not moving lower, particularly because of this bar that we looked at earlier, where we got the support coming into the market. And then for some unknown reason, we saw some selling. I thought we were off back to the downside, but not. No signals out of the trade at this point. which was a good job because all of a sudden this happened and prices drove higher. You can see there, I don't know what news it was. It was obviously just something that came out of the blue and moved prices to the upside. But then we saw a huge amount of selling coming in. You can see this is far greater than the buying. The market moves up, let's have a look, nearly 80 points. And then all of a sudden we're hit with this huge selling there coming into the market. So what I've done is fast forward. We had a sell signal here below the DP. You can see this here. The market tried to come back a couple of times, but kept banging its head against the 20 bar moving average. The market wasn't closing above any of the 5 bar, none of the bars were closing above the 5 bar moving average. And then once we broke the DP, it was just a matter of, again, further resistance and then prices moving lower. And as they continued lower to 34 points, we know that the 200 bar moving average earlier in the morning had given us an area where there was support. And we're not getting any major selling either, if you note here as well, and that's what we want to see as prices move lower. So now prices are moving lower, and you can see, watch the volume. This is key here. You will see that we have a bit of selling there, then prices go down to the DP level, and as we get a second bar of selling there, and then all of a sudden, again, watch the volume, and you'll see now that the volume is increasing as we hit the previous day's close. The price is starting to move lower. It'll have a look at the low. As I've said before, the market likes to take a view on the low, but fails to move lower there. And you'll see here prices coming back off this low there, and you can see that they're green as well in the volume. So at this point, you'd be looking to collect the money off the trade because, as I've said before, if we're not breaking the low, then you want to consider taking the profits off the table as well. So here's a magnified view. That's the bar where we can see the volume coming in, the market coming back off the lows at the close, and then trading down to the low where we see the big boys taking the money out of the trade. We come back up to the 5 bar, we retrace. In fact, let me just do that in a different color so you can see it. So we move higher, we retrace, and then we start to move back to the upside there, and prices trade sideways thereafter. So let's have a look at the afternoon session. So in the afternoon we kicked off with prices having moved lower in the lunchtime or the last hour of trading, and look where we're at. This is key here. We're back at the low where we saw the profits being taken earlier on in the morning, and now we have the battle once more. We can see prices coming down to the low, and as they come down to the low they bounce off. That's the first key that we're likely to move higher again. I'm just going to rewind this because it's really important. So you see prices coming down to the low. We know that there's some buying down at this level, and then prices come off this low. They'll come back down, have another look, and they bounce off this level, and then we start to move to the upside. We get a buy signal, and as we go through this, it's going to be tough going because we've got resistance to the left because this is where the last selling took place, and we can see this here. Prices battle for a bit. Again, you can see the profit taking coming into the market here with the upthrust, but prices are staying above the 5 bar moving average. You've got to talk yourself through what you actually see. So the market remains on the buy side, and there you can see that prices now are at the scalp and also at this area here, which I will draw in for you. Now at this point I had to leave. I had to go and pick up my wife for an appointment, so I was left at the trade at this point. Now when I returned, you will see again prices coming back, and again we've got some selling there, but once again prices aren't closing below the 5 bar moving average or the previous day's close at the moment. So again, even though it's up and down and giving you some grief, you can see that prices are still holding above the previous day's close, And like I say, unfortunately, I wasn't able to participate in the rest of this trade, but price is moving higher. You'd expect some weakness at the 200 bar moving average, which we see there, and then continuing to move to the upside until prices come back and close or trade below the 5 bar moving average. They don't close, they move back up, and then you get a bit more on the trade before they do close below, and it happens to be potential weakness and profit taking by the big boys in the market there. So prices then sideways to lower, and I had to reload the charts here. There was a problem with the recorder. So there we go, we're now back, and there you'll go. You'll see prices moving sideways to lower. We'll head towards the crude oil news, and you'll see there's the selling coming into the market. I did actually take this trade and traded the short as I'd missed the long side. We went straight through the 200 bar moving average, and I took the money down at this level as well, because we were looking at support. This is where the market had broken through, so I thought, well, just for a quick trade, I'll take the money off the table there. But later on, you'll see the market moving back. It was the right thing to do at the time, because again, you see the profits being taken by the big boys. You can always re-enter the market as prices start to move lower, which you can see there. Back towards the close. That's in the 5-minute chart. There you go. So they came back again, and then eventually they broke to the downside. Again, notice here you've got this subtle volume as prices have moved lower, and then you can see the narrow range and prices moving back towards the close once more. But eventually they do break to the downside as it comes back to the BRN, goes back to the 200, and eventually you'll see it reverse off this level and move to the downside. No movement to the upside, potential weakness, and eventually prices move to the downside there. Okay, so that was the trades from yesterday. I know these examples are rather long, but it's to get you to think in terms of watching the market unfold bar by bar, and it allows you to, once you've trained your brain to actually see this, it makes a massive difference to your trading, and also being able to interpret what you see coming as well, and obviously the next move. Okay, so before I conclude, let's have a look at the overnight and the bigger picture for the German DAX. Again, we can see that we're in this sort of sideways move still, but starting to move back to the upside. Let's look in at a bit more detail and see what is actually going on. So at the moment we're still green in the MDI, we're above the 20 bar moving average, we're still closing back above the 5 bar moving average as well, and also the 200. So the German DAX is still relatively strong to the upside, but it's got to break this 89% on the upside, and also the recent high to the left. The all-time high is up here. I'll just do this for you, which is sitting at 13,827, and in between this we've got a fib retracement as well that we need to take out. So overnight, at the time of recording, prices are moving slightly to the upside, but very quiet. As you can see here, prices have been rather choppy. Let's have a look, just see where we are. So yeah, they started to move higher. I'll just come back to the overnight. There we go. Now we can see it now. So yeah, a choppy night is what we've got, with prices breaking out to the upside and then coming back to the 200 bar moving average. No surprise there. Where are we with regards to the DP level? We're currently above this as well. In order to move higher, we need to stay above the 200 bar moving average and the DP, and also the pivots in between. One thing that's certainly been obvious for the last few days is the low, which you'll have seen from the analysis of yesterday's trades as well. A break below the low is likely to see prices test to the downside, but at the moment we're above this. Okay, that will do it for this one. As ever, thanks for watching. See you in the next one.